The celestial kestrel felt lighter to control as it penetrated Oblar's atmosphere. Nanas made the final preparations, setting the speed as the landing gear extended slowly. The metallic hull touched down gently, and the celestial kestrel let out a sigh of relief, grateful to finally rest. Nanas watched as his escort landed beside him. The garrison was barely serviceable. Outdated decor and rusted panels made him wonder how it still functioned. Stepping out of his ship, he nodded confidently to the small, expectant crowd. Suddenly his shoulder was yanked back. "We don't need pleasantries. Follow me," Anton's voice commanded, urgent and unyielding. Nanas was led through the hangar into a narrow hall. Neon lights barely pierced the shadows and a flat screen glowed ahead. He recognized the star chart instantly. "He's all yours, Commander," Anton announced. Nanas paused. If Anton wasn't leading the operation, then who was? 4 figures stood by the star chart, plotting and recording data. Any one of them could be the commander. Suddenly, a familiar voice called out, "Took you long enough! Lyra, but how?" Lyra stepped closer to Nanas. "I had to be sure you weren't compromised. I'm still not convinced." Nanas glanced around the room, his ears pricked. Lyra's voice was smooth and welcoming, but he tuned out the other sounds, focusing intently on her words. "I told you, you were being played," Nanas pointed to the star chart. "So are you. Besides, you know I see things through." Lyra glanced at the illuminated panel. "Looks fine to me." "Really? Then explain him." A tall man in his mid-20s glanced up, his expression stern. Lyra relaxed and walked over to the man, who continued to stare at Nanas. She shook her head as she approached him. Nanas instinctively placed a hand on his holster, biting his lip while subconsciously selecting targets. "Don't worry, Pricon is on our side." "You're in bed with the Defense Corps?" "No, Pricon is a lone wolf. In other words, Black Ops." A faint thud echoed, and Nanas collapsed to the floor, clutching his leg. Lyra hadn't even noticed Pricon draw his weapon. Lyra stiffened, standing tall as she demanded Pricon stow his gun. Nanas struggled to his feet, his leg throbbing. Anger flashed in his eyes, teeth clenched as he demanded answers. Lyra's voice cut through the tension, commanding them to calm down. Breathing heavily and grinding his teeth, Nanas slowly regained his composure. "I had to prove a point, Lyra," Pricon said, holstering his weapon. He had his hand on his gun. Besides, it was only a stun shot. "Since when was I the enemy? You know I don't trust them." Nanas pointed an accusing finger at Pricon. Lyra pressed a firm hand against Pricon's chest, and he took the hint, remaining still. Nanas straightened, the pain in his leg fading as adrenaline surged through him. "It's a good thing you're not in charge then, Nanas," Lyra snapped. "Pricon was delivering intel. Thanks to him I can finally go after Silas." "You're just jealous the Corps doesn't accept playboys, so you have to pretend to be a soldier," Pricon sneered. Lyra's expression hardened as she crossed her arms. "Thank you, Pricon, that will be all," she snapped before Nanas could retort. "Is that all?" Pricon asked, his tone dripping with mock respect. "Yes, Pricon, send my gratitude to the Corps. We'll let you know if we need more help." Pricon nodded, a sly smirk curling his lips as he strode confidently toward Nanas. Nanas squared his shoulders, bracing himself as Pricon slammed his shoulder into him. Nanas held his ground but tensed, teeth clenching as a flicker of anger burned in his eyes. "You'll love it. It's a suicide mission," Pricon muttered, unfazed, as he continued on his way. Lyra let out a long, frustrated sigh, arms still crossed as she shot Nanas a warning glare. Nanas took the opportunity to approach Lyra, the soft glow of the display easing some of the tension. The screen showed ships scattered throughout the region, and Nanas waited for Lyra to explain the next step. "You know he wants you on his team, right?" Lyra asked. "Who, Pricon?" "No, Silas. You're the only student of his who could ever match him." Nanas sighed and remained silent. Lyra studied him, waiting for a reply. When it became clear he wouldn't answer, she laid out her plan. Pricon provided the location of Silas's base, a Walrus-class starship, hiding out in an uncharted system. She pointed to the star chart, tracing the shipping lanes. Nanas's eyes widened. "He's been hiding under our noses this whole time." Before Lyra could respond, a sudden shrill alarm pierced the air. A voice crackled over the comms. "Founders, they've located us!" Pricon stormed into the room, glaring at Nanas. "I thought you were leaving," Nanas asked. "Slight problem with that," Pricon grunted. He shot Nanas a scowl. "Swear if it wasn't for Playboy over here, I wouldn't even be here." "Well, you're here, so show me how special you are, loner," Nanas shouted. Gunfire echoed around them as Pricon barked orders, directing the defense. "Form up! Focus fire on marked targets!" Nanas followed his lead, taking out enemies with precise shots. Lyra fired in controlled bursts, methodically picking off foes Pricon hadn't noticed. Explosions rattled the garrison, and the air was thick with smoke and shouts. The situation was rapidly deteriorating. "The blast door isn't going to hold!" Lyra shouted, panic creeping into her voice. Metal groaned as the blast door began to warp, sparks dancing from the frame. The Founders were relentless, their firepower overwhelming. With a thunderous crack, the door gave way. Pieces of metal and debris scattered across the room. The Founders stormed in, weapons blazing. Nanas ducked behind cover, the heat of energy blasts scorching the air. Pricon's voice cut through the chaos. "Regroup! Hold your positions!" But it was clear, they were losing ground fast. A Founder agent locked eyes with Nanas and smirked. "Silas sends his regards!" The agent lunged, blade gleaming. Nanas parried the strike and grappled, struggling to overpower his foe. Before the blade could sink in, a bolt struck the agent's chest. Pricon had fired, expression unreadable. "Don't get yourself killed, playboy!" Nanas scowled but nodded. More Founder agents flooded the hall. The trio was pinned down, the situation growing dire. "We can't hold them!" Lyra shouted. Pricon scanned the room. "We're pulling out! Now! We can take them!" Nanas snapped back, firing another shot. "And waste more time? We have a mission! Move!" Pricon ordered. Lyra's glare shut Nanas up, and he followed as Pricon led a fighting retreat. They cut through corridors, dodging blaster fire until they reached a secondary exit. Explosions rattled the garrison as they sprinted to the celestial kestrel. Nanas's knuckles whitened around his weapon. This wasn't how he wanted to fight back. Nanas slammed a button on his communicator. "Kestrel, prep for emergency departure." The Founders' fire continued to rain down, shots tearing through the air. Pricon held the line, firing back and buying them time. "Nanas, Lyra!" Pricon shouted, his voice tight. "Go, I'll cover you!" Without hesitation, Nanas and Lyra sprinted for the Kestrel. In the cockpit, Nanas punched the engines to full power. The ship surged forward, engines roaring as they left smoke and flames behind. Nanas's breath came in ragged gasps, adrenaline pumping through his veins. "Silas is making his move," Lyra said, eyes fixed on the star chart. "We need to hit him before he vanishes again." Nanas's eyes scanned the cockpit. "Where's Pricon?" Lyra glanced around, confusion flickering in her eyes. Silence filled the space, broken only by the hum of the engines. A voice crackled through the comms, familiar but cold. "Sorry I can't be with you right now. I've got to report to HQ. You're on your own from here." Lyra shot Nanas a warning look. "This is a suicide mission, Nanas." Nanas's expression hardened, a fire in his eyes. "Good. I owe him one."